Hey, howdy, hello everybody. I hope that you are having a fantastic day. It's been brought to my attention relatively recently that I haven't really done a lore after hours discussion video in a while, talking about the general state of the Magic lore, my overall thoughts on what's going on with the newest story, new releases, all that jazz. And so I figured now might not be a bad time to sit down and just have a chat with all of you about what's going on. The most recent story is Age of Eternities. And I'm going to be completely honest, man. I am 100% not a fan. I don't think it's the worst Magic story we've ever had, But I do think it's definitely in my top 10, terrible ones from a writing perspective. No, shade at Seth Dickinson, the newest new author WotC has brought on board to pen their stories. I'm sure that if he didn't have to deal with Wizards of the Coast's demands, he could probably write a decent story. It's just, I read chapter 1 of Age of Eternities when it came out, and I'm going to get the good out of the way. I'm going to, pros and cons of this bitch. So, pros. The story is long. I didn't get an exact word count. I don't remember exactly how long it was. But it definitely felt, as I was reading through the article, like it was easily twice as long as the average story articles. The Edge of Eternity stories I read. They felt like they were longer. Because I read the first, I thought I read just the one, but now that I think about it, I think I read the first 3. Anywho, they felt longer. They felt wordier. Longer. Stretched. Definitely more content to them than recent Magic stories, especially post War of the Spark. It's been a problem, I've talked about it before, how short I find a lot of recent Magic stories, and to see one that appears to have a decent enough word count, it's a bit nice. Is the end of the nice things I have to say about the Magic story in terms of Edge of Eternities. So, in these first few chapters alone, we have some pretty heavy lore reveals that I'm not entirely sure I feel all that happy about. The big one, of course, being the reveal that people can just become Eldrazi, and everything we knew about Eldrazi up until this point is totally fucking wrong. What's the point of having established lore if you can just disrespect it, retroactively shit all over it, and replace it with universes beyond? Why bother having consistency or anything like that? Yeah, no longer are the Eldrazi these 3 terrifying, unique, and very, very powerful creatures that destroy reality just by pressing themselves upon it. No, now Eldrazi are these just aliens that anybody can turn into. And the Fomori of Edge of Eternities apparently had a very ancient war against them, and the Fomori and their allies apparently just could casually snipe Eldrazi out of existence because they have access to this magic device that tells them the fates of every living creature in existence. And, that seems like, I feel like this is the second all-knowing MacGuffin we've gotten in the last few years, where all knowledge is contained in one thing, and I feel like that's just really the kind of thing that would have been useful a few thousand years ago when Urza was taking on the Phyrexians, but as, Yawgmoth has probably been retconned to be a small player in the Fomori Eldrazi war, and not really that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things, now that I think about it. There's a lot going on here. The Fomori Eldrazi war is pretty big. The reveal that people can just become Eldrazi, yeah, that's pretty big in terms of revelations. The people of the Edge, they have faster than light travel, which is normally exclusive to this one specific alien race that has to undergo a complex ritual to perform it. It's very verbosely explained, but basically they have a connection to these time pillars, is what I'm going to call them. That allows them to faster than light jump across the edge. In the same few stories, we casually get an insult of Miri, because now instead of being a cat on the Weatherlight, Miri is an actual cat on a spaceship. That cat can casually use the faster than light travel that, needs vigorous ritual preparation. But hey, why bother introducing this convoluted means of travel and explaining to the viewer that it's difficult to do if you can just have a cat do it out of nowhere. The other major the other major reveal is Tezzeret's presence in the Edge and his new name, Metal Man, which I thought was pretty freaking ridiculous, to say the least. Overall, I would not call the Edge of Eternity's stories articles the worst. I wouldn't say that. But man, did I struggle to find anything in there worth enjoying, and I struggled to even really even get through the few chapters I read. They were a slog. Part of it's because of the format layout. Part of it's, the faux sci-fi feel they were trying to give it. Especially with the fake multiple choice choose your own adventure design they're going with the story. That was jarring and really not enjoyable. I can't believe somebody thought that was a good idea. It doesn't work well when the choose your own adventure thing is restricted to one page, and the links just move you around that one page rather than going to separate pages. It doesn't look good, and it feels like the people who came up with that idea for Edge of Eternities did not think it through. But you know what I will say? I will say that I'm not as angry as I probably would have been a year or two ago. I think I have moved past that sentiment in terms of my opinion towards Magic's story. Because, there's really only so much anger that you can have towards a terrible thing being done to something that you used to enjoy before you just kind of move on with your life. And let me tell you, I think most of my anger for Magic has been squeezed out. Wizards has retconned the hell out of their story. They have insulted the hell out of their established canon. They have made a mockery of beloved worlds like Tarkir and Lorwyn, and they are doing everything in their power to make the Magic story itself as uninteresting and unappealing as possible, giving us these terrible, poorly designed worlds of hats with barely any world depth to them, reusing and recycling established characters and concepts just to try and get eyeballs on a set, knowing full well that it's going to be surface-level nonsense at best before moving on to the next thing. It's all very tiresome, and I've grown tired of being mad at it, knowing full well that Magic's lore, as it is, only exists to sell the idea that the game itself has some substance outside of universes beyond, knowing full well that Wizards has dedicated themselves to selling out half of the game at least to universes beyond, because that's the game plan going forward. Why should we care about Magic's lore when Wizards of the Coast, A, doesn't put any effort into their lore, and B, dedicates half of the game's resources to releasing sets that don't have associated lore? It's a travesty, honestly. What's happened with Magic's story since 2019 has been an insult, a joke even. And I shudder to think, people at Wizards of the Coast, they obviously haven't hit the bottom of the barrel. They obviously haven't hit the lowest point yet. So where is it? Obviously they haven't hit the lowest point yet because people aren't up in arms waving around torches and pitchforks. Where is that low point going to be? This stuff is bad, and there's people online, there's supposedly people online who are praising the hell out of the Edge of Eternity's Chapter 1, at the very least. And to those people, I legitimately say, what other fictional media do you read? What novels do you read? What books do you read? What even short stories online do you read? I need to know. I genuinely need to know what your frame of reference is if you think Bloomburrow or Edge of Eternities or Strixhaven or what the fucking Ghost Racers, Speed Racers set. What the fuck was that called? Wacky Racers, Aether Drift. There we go. If you think any of these are good, if you think Thunder Junction is good, if you thought fucking New Capenna was good, if you thought the Phyrexius set and Aftermath and its terrible repercussions for the Magic lore, if you thought any of these were good, I need to know, have you ever read a good piece of fictional media? Have you read Conan? Have you read any of the Forgotten Realms novels? Have you read any H.P. Lovecraft? Have you read, anything by David Eddings? Have you read, have you just read anything else? Is this all you have? Is this all you've ever read? Is this all you've enjoyed? Is your only frame of reference other terrible Magic stories? Because I get I legitimately get the impression that if you unironically enjoy these new Magic stories, then you just don't engage with any other kind of fictional media. That has to be it. I cannot for the life of me think of anybody with a functioning brain unironically enjoying these stories. And I know that comes off as rude or crass or insulting or whatever, but I genuinely don't care. I don't care if you think that this is insulting. I don't care if you think that I'm being rude or demeaning for thinking it's a terrible thing to enjoy these stories, because these are unironically bad stories. Poorly written plot threads that go nowhere, with characters that have no depth to them whatsoever, no start or finish to their character storylines, nothing engaging going on in terms of the actual written plot at all. There's no themes that are upheld and carried through over multiple plot threads. Plots start and finish almost seemingly at random. There are all kinds of contrivances throughout the plots. These are genuinely some of the worst nickel and dime stories I've ever been forced to suffer through since 2019. And there are people out there who claim that they are amazing and they are enjoyable and that they love them. And I just can't accept that those are real people. Man, this ended up coming out way angrier than I thought it would be. Anywho, at the end of the day, nothing's really changed. I'm not giving a summary of Edge of Eternities. I'm not going to cover Edge of Eternities lore on the channel. It's bad. I hate it. I'm sure the cards will be fine. I'm sure the set itself, I think it'll be a success, because the Eldrazi are like crack to Magic players, and having more Eldrazi in Standard is definitely not going to have any long-term repercussions for the format or anything, right? Right? Like the last 2 times it happened? No? Nobody? It's really bad what happened to Magic the Gathering in terms of lore. In just a few short years, they have sacrificed what little integrity they had and sold it out to universes beyond. But hey, at least now we get to have Sonic the Hedgehog fighting Aang, fighting Sephiroth, fighting fucking Rick and Morty sooner or later. It's all a fucking joke. Anyway, thank you for sitting through one of my rainbow rants. I'll talk to you guys next time.